Good evening, everybody, and sorry about the delay. We were having some technical issues. Welcome to the Winter Meetings podcast. I am your host, Seven, and with me is my partner in crime, Craig Newton. And I want to dive right in with our special guest, former Yankees pitcher, Stefan Wever. Stefan, again, sorry about the technical issues, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Oh, no problem. I'm so honored.
It's great to see you, and you played for the Yankees, and so I have to ask this question first.
Okay.
How did you manage the skin burns from having to wear that evil uniform every day?
I wore a wetsuit underneath.
There you go. You know what? I should have thought of that. There's a couple of Yankees players I've thought about getting jerseys for, but at the same time, as a Red Sox fan, it kind of just like I look at it. It's like because I'm a Chiefs fan too, so it's like buying a Rangers jersey. It's like I don't think it's going to happen.
Although I do have my two Yankee jerseys framed and hung.
That's pretty reasonable. I probably would if I'd gotten that far. And so you got drafted. What year was it you got drafted again? I can't remember.
1979.
79. And you were drafted in the Yankees, came up in the Yankees organization a couple of years. And so what was it like as a pitcher? What were some of the things that you worked on developmentally aside from, just repetition and getting better?
Basically, pitching is all about balance. So you got to balance on your right leg and, driving towards home, keeping your shoulder closed, driving your elbow down the ground, just stuff like that. And you work a lot on pickoffs and fielding bunts.
And I've seen, like, I was watching the Red Sox and Yankees game tonight, and they were talking because there was a situation where somebody's trying to bunt. And they were talking about how it really doesn't get practiced very much because once you guys get going during the season, that stuff like that really goes out the window. Is that right?
Yep.
And so college, you was UC Santa Barbara, and
yes.
You did, was it 3 years? Is that right?
3 years. Yep.
And you say it was the 6th round that you were drafted by the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, I was their 5th pick because they didn't have a first-round pick. But
okay,
yeah, 6th round.
So what was it like to be in that organization, just as an experience? How did they treat you? What was it
strange because, I kind of fell for the brainwashing. I just kind of drank the Kool-Aid. So even though I'm a Red Sox fan, I mean, by the time I finished with the Yankees, I had bought Yankee gear for all my friends.
Oh.
I mean, they really brainwash you into thinking we're the greatest organization ever.
And you kind of have to buy into that process at that level, regardless of the sport, the organization. That's where you have to be. Just that mindset is required.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, because when you're at that level, you're in the top, 0.5% of athletes in the world because you've made it to that level, which a remarkable achievement in and of itself.
Thank you.
But, to get to that level, you have to buy into that stuff.
Yep.
And if I remember, you said that you got the chance to play, one of the bigger names you got to play was Mattingly, right?
Yeah, Don Mattingly and Dave Bugatti. But yeah, Don Mattingly played a lot with Mattingly.
And did you guys come up in the minors together? Did you play in the minors together? Or was it?
Yeah, we came up in the minors. He got to the big leagues a little before me. I have a good story about Mattingly.
Go for it.
I was in Oneonta, which is where the Yankees rookie ball team was. And we got this guy that we'd heard a lot of talk about, Don Mattingly. He joined us. He's like a scrawny little kid. And we'd taken BP and he hit everything to left field. And we're like, what's the big deal about this guy? He can't even pull the ball. And then next year he came back. He was like a little stronger. The next year he was huge. His arms were huge. And we both went to what's called Instructional League, where they send down some of their top prospects to work on specific things. And he just started hitting bombs and doubles and driving in runs. So, but before that, when they tried him at second, because he's ambidextrous. So, yeah, they tried to put him at second because they didn't really have a position because Balboni was at first. So,
right,
they tried him at second. But then he became so good, Balboni was expendable.
That's a remarkable achievement to make Balboni expendable on that organization. That's just insane.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about this, I told you I was going to ask you this, the no beard rule in the Yankees. I know you said you're not really a big fan of it. What is it like to have to deal with that in the clubhouse?
Well, it wasn't a rule in the minor leagues, so I didn't really have to deal with it. It's only a rule in the big leagues. but they do have a rule. You have to blouse your pants, which means they don't have they don't have pants that go down your feet like they do now. They came down to your mid shin, and you had to kind of fold it underneath so it look straight.
Yeah.
And you had to do that. I mean, it was a pain in the ass, but you had to do that.
Was there any other, because I know, I've seen, with different teams, they all have different rules. And I know, Acuna Jr. was talking recently about Freddie Freeman being one of the ones that policed those kind of things in the Braves clubhouse last year. What were some of those ones that you guys had to deal with?
Well, there's always an issue with music that you play in the clubhouse after a game, because all guys have all sorts of different tastes, obviously, because you're playing with some guys from Ivy League, you're playing with some guys from the Deep South, you're playing with some guys from Harlem, you're playing with some guys from a ghetto in San Bernardino. So
Right.
yeah, everybody is different. Everyone has their own taste. So yeah, it was like a big argument about who's going to play the music.
And who usually won that? How was that one decided?
It was usually the same group of people because they liked a lot of Motown and soul music.
Okay, for that time period, that's pretty appropriate, and I wouldn't hate listening to that music. I was raised on everything, so that wouldn't bother me at all.
Right.
And so when you think about, I was going to, and now wait a minute. You said, if I remember right in the comments, you said you haven't seen the new Yankee Stadium. Is that right?
I have not been there. No.
Okay. All right. So that scratches that question. Okay.
But I do. I'm sorry. I do. Apparently, there's a wall they have up there, and they got a signed baseball from every living Yankee that they could. So I have an actual ball there, a signed ball in the wall.
So now, is this where they're on display, or is it in the wall?
Well, it's in the wall, but yeah, it's in the wall, but yeah, anybody can go up and look at it.
Okay, so they can see each player's signature, but it's okay. No, that's interesting. I like the way preserving history like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, the Yankees are all about history.
And especially at that point when you were going through the organization, the Yankees were the kings of baseball at that point. It wasn't like what we've seen over the last 20 years where you've gotten a couple dozen playoff trips and one World Series trip. So I can see some differences there. I'm going to quit hogging the questions for a second. Craig, what's some of the stuff that you wanted to ask him?
Who was the judge in the kangaroo court in the clubhouse?
It was usually one of the senior guys. It wasn't me. I don't know. At that level, we didn't really have too many issues.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaches kind of dealt with it themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't have too many issues.
Did you come across Frank Cressetti when you were there? Was he still part of the organization?
No.
No. Okay.
And I remember when we were commenting back and forth on Facebook, I just realized this. You said that the guy that was the equipment manager when you were with the organization was back there.
Yep.
He was there back when Babe Ruth was there. Is that right?
Yeah, he was Babe Ruth's equipment manager.
What kind of stories did he have to tell?
Well, he couldn't speak very loud because he was pretty old even then. He died 10 years ago. He died, so he was pretty old. So he couldn't really talk that well. So he didn't talk that much about it.
And I just, that's a lot of history to have been able to see, especially in that clubhouse of all places. The history in that is, I just can't wrap my mind around that.
He just probably got sick of everybody asking him.
At that point, I could kind of see that, I could see that being.
Hey, Pete, what was Babe like?
Just start making up different stories. What's Babe going to do? Come back and tell him it wasn't true? Just make random stuff up. Oh, he used to dance around in a dress every Sunday in heels. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Okay. And so when you get to the majors, you get called up. You get to the point you get to start a game, and then you injured your shoulder. What happened?
Well, I got called up, and then I had to wait like 10 days. They didn't know when I was going to start. I had to wait because I had to wait a whole bunch of times. So I got no bullpen sessions in between. So, by the time I finally started, they said, okay, you're going to start against the Brewers. And Pat Dobson was the pitching coach then. And he said, are you a good mutter? I didn't even know what a mutter was, but it was raining. So that basically means you can pitch with a slick mound.
Okay. Interesting. And no bullpen sessions. Because and I think that kind of connects to one of the things we're seeing in the early parts of this year with pitchers not having enough time to ramp up. You start to see those issues with injuries and control and stuff like that. Is that, from your perspective, do you think that's affecting these guys this year so far, especially with all the hit by pitches and walks we've seen?
Oh, yeah. With no spring training, definitely.
It's one of the things I wanted to ask you before we start talking about stuff current, because I don't think, because if I remember correctly, you weren't in the league when the lockout, the strike in '94 happened.
No.
But, when you look at the way that happened versus the way this most recent lockout, how did it compare to you? Do you think the players did a better job of starting to right the ship as far as how the deals have gone?
I don't know. I mean, the major league, the union, they say it's the strongest union in the world. I don't know. I think it's up to the union more than anything else. And each team has a union rep, like a different individual who, goes to the union meetings and votes for the team.
When you look at how the commissioner handled this part, Manfred handled things versus what it's been like with the relationship between commissioner and player in the past, do you think he's better or worse? Do you think he's going to be able to build on it? What do you think?
I don't think that. Well, one of the problems is he's hired by the owners, so he kind of has to, bow to them. But no, I'm not real thrilled with what he's done. I mean, I do like the new rules, some of the new rules, but yeah, he hasn't done it. He gets like $5 million a year just for sitting around,
right?
To do.
So when you say the new rules, you mean like universal DH or the banning of shift? What are you liking?
Well, I like the 3 pitching rule for the pitchers, and I know a lot of people hate it, including Craig. I like the ghost runner on second. I think that's a great idea. Because after I played, I coached a lot. Mm-hmm. So, when you coach, you got to work a lot on fundamentals. And I just think, today's game, there are no fundamentals. Like hit the ball as far as you can, strike out or walk, and that's it. So I like bunting, moving the guy over. And I think when they did have the ghost runner last year, the team that moved the runner from second to third with less than 2 outs won like 60% of the time or 70% of the time.
Right.
I mean, I loved watching that. I hated seeing, runner on second, nobody out, weak ground ball to short, runner on second, 1 out, weak fly ball to left, runner on second, 2 outs.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea. I know that not everybody has received it well, but I definitely get the purpose the league is trying to get. There was one, I don't know if you saw it, one of the things that they did change is with the All-Star game starting this year, if they're tied in the bottom of ninth, they're going to do kind of a home run derby to decide the winner. Have you seen that?
No, I hate that idea.
Why?
Well, I'm not a big fan of home run derbies anyway, because, I mean, hitters think the game is a home run derby. They all just try to hit the ball as far as they can. But, I mean, the game is all about pitching and hitting, and home run derbies have nothing to do with that.
Right. No, that's a valid point. It definitely changes things up, and the runner on second puts pressure on the situation from the beginning and keeps the speed up because, like you said, if you move that runner from second to third with less than 2 outs, you win like 60% of the time.
Exactly.
So it's still impactful. Now, have you seen the pitch com that they've started checking out? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I understand it, but it seems kind of silly to me because pitchers have been using stuff on the ball for like the last 80 years. And I don't know why they just started it now. Plus, I mean, I think if a pitcher wants to put a substance on the ball, he's going to find a way regardless. They're just going to find a way.
When I played, I caught. And so, kind of sitting on the opposite side of where you were.
Mhm.
And, I would much rather my pitcher have control of what they're doing, especially at the speeds they're throwing, the movement that these pitches have now.
Right.
I would much rather they have control, because we see, like last year, Kevin Pillar took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball to the face.
Yeah, and this year too, Lindor got one to the face, and Alfonso got one to the face.
Yeah, that Lindor one was nasty, but I think I like that they put that chin strap on the chin protectors on the helmets now as standard. I think that was a good.
He chipped a tooth on that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he did? I didn't see that. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that until I read it today.
That's rough, man. To have to take that.
And I think just psychologically, I don't know how these guys do it. You get hit in the face, and then you got to go up 2 innings later and face the same guy who's thrown 90 miles an hour. And you're supposed to stay in the box? Not me.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Like, and any time, like even when I was in high school, when they would be like, all right, we're going to warm up the pitchers, it was always, okay, where's my mask? I'm not getting back there. Because like the high school that I went to, we had a guy who was a senior that was already throwing over 90 miles an hour. And I was one of the few that was willing to actually sit back there and catch him while he was warming up, because everybody else was scared of him.
Right.
So they're like, hey, we're going to put this tiny little freshman that weighs 110 pounds behind home plate and see if he can catch a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. I was like, what? What's wrong with you? Like, okay, but like, why? No, it was great. Okay, so before we move on, we're going to take a quick breather just so we can all get a quick drink, and I can.
Hey, okay, let me say one real quick thing.
Okay.
You talked about guys getting hit in the head. I just want to emphasize, no pitcher ever aims for a guy's head. It just the ball really does get away. And like you said, I think a lot of that has to do with no spring training. You don't get the repetitions and the of the arm action.
I expected to see more of what we've seen. I expected it. Like, I went on opening night, I went and I watched the D-backs and the Padres. It was Darvish and Baumgartner. And Darvish was doing a little better, but even though he threw no hits and gave up no hits off of 6 innings, he had 4 walks across that same time span. Right. He only had like 5. He had like 3 or 4 strikeouts. Baumgartner, by the end of the 3rd inning, had thrown 68 pitches.
What was the weather like?
I mean, this was down here in Phoenix. It was in the indoor ball field, so it was it was regular.
Because I know I played a couple ball games in like Pawtucket when I was rehabbing in AAA, and I pitched a game. I could not. It was so cold, I could not even feel the ball in my hand, let alone throw it.
That's got to be brutal, especially with those speeds that you have to throw it, and grip is so important with pitching.
Oh, definitely, yeah, it's totally important. But what made me feel better is in between innings, the hitters told me that it's harder for them to hit than it is for us to pitch. So what I did from then on, I just threw the ball inside. We had like a running tally of how many bats you could break.
I mean, look, the opportunity's there. It's science. The bats, I don't even blame you on that one.
Plus, it's a lot of fun to watch a guy going back the dugout, shaking his hand because it stings.
I remember anytime I'd get to the batting cages, and because I would use metal bats like an idiot, and so like you hit that wrong spot, and all of a sudden you're just like, I feel like you've been using a weed whacker for 2 hours.
Right.
That's a smart move though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll dive back into talking more about this. Talk about some stuff from opening week, and I'll try to shut up and let Craig get a few more questions in as well. But we'll be right back with everybody here on the Winter Meetings podcast on Pinfall Streams.
Great, thank you.
pulls up like we do. No one does us like we do. Always go hard with this crew. Welcome to the show, let's make moves. Nothing's gonna stop us, it's not to get rough. Turn the whole room up, it's never enough. Let's go, 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 let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. That first commercial was for the Sports Report, which airs Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern right here on the Pinfall Stream Network. That is hosted by Will and also features myself along with Tony C. and my buddy Dan the Dick Warner going into all things sports related. We'll talk more baseball there as well as, basketball, football, and whatever else we come up with. That second commercial was for the Sports Report After Dark, which is me and Dan the Dick Warner. It is at 11:30 p.m. Eastern on Monday nights, and we go into more of the human side of sports, kind of like in talking with Stefan tonight. Our theory is that athletes are people too, and also that Skip Bayless is one of the lizard people, and so we're meticulously proving both theories side by side. So definitely check that out. And so tonight we're sitting here with former Yankees pitcher Stefan Wever. And so before we dive into opening weekend results, I wanted to actually shut up again and give Craig a chance to ask more questions because I talk too much.
No, you're doing fine, man. It's just I could listen to Stefan all day long. It's such a pleasure to.
Well, yeah, you too, Craig. I mean, you have such a radio voice, smooth, silky. It's like Barry White talking sports.
It's the voice of an angel,
Yes. I can just listen to Stefan tell stories all day long, and it's a shame that the listeners can't read some of the back and forth messages that him and I have had. Ladies and gentlemen, they're listening out there. You're getting the real deal. This is a real player that calls it as he sees it, and is just a good, humble man. And it's an honor to have Stefan on, and I hope that we can make this a regular format.
I'm all for that.
And you are welcome to join us anytime, Stefan. I'm so appreciative that you've joined us tonight. All right, so let's dive in. We're talking opening weekend. Obviously, we've seen a lot of control and location issues with the pitching, but we've also seen some standout plays. We'll go ahead, talking Yankees and Red Sox. We had Stanton and Rizzo both hit 2-run shots the first 2 games in a row.
What amazes me watching Stanton? This guy hits the ball harder than anybody in baseball. When he misses, he has the worst swings I've ever seen.
I think the only thing that keeps him from falling is he's actually worked out enough that his center of gravity is not up here like Barry Bonds was.
I think you're right.
I mean, no disrespect to Barry Bonds. I do believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. But it's just, I agree with that. It's like, and that's why I think they got rid of Sanchez and Urshela as well.
Right.
It's great that they can go yard. I mean, but if you're only hitting 240 and have 250 strikeouts in a season.
And if you're hurt and miss half the season.
Did you see last year where they were talking about Joey Votto had struck out like 216 times, and Pete Rose said something where he's like, if I had struck out that many times in a season, I'd kill myself. Did you see that?
Well, I saw a stat where it said Reggie Jackson struck out so much, he could have played for 6 years. That's how many times he struck out. 6 years worth.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that much.
Oh, yeah.
But Reggie, if he got a piece of it,
it's like Stanton. Yeah, he was like Stanton.
Yeah. I get the whole thing. Chicks dig the long ball. The league wants to see more offensive play because people like watching it. There are some of us that are fans enough that we can appreciate a good pitcher's duel. But, try to bring that younger demographic in. So I get it. But Judge turned down
Yeah, I saw that.
a 7-year contract. It was over 30. He wants over 35 million, and they offered it was like 30, around 30 in there.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to get what he wants?
I don't know. There's always some teams stupid enough to open their wallets. They think they're one player away from winning it all. And yeah, they do that, and they sign him to a long-term contract. And then by the end of the contract, he's worth it. I mean, that's what happened with the Yankees and Johnny Damon. I mean, the Red Sox didn't want to sign him because he's a speed guy, and the legs are the first thing to go. Which showed he had a good first couple years with the Yankees, and then his legs just failed him, and they got rid of him.
Boston got most of his good years. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Greg.
No, it's okay. That's right. I don't think Judge's value outside of being with the Yankees is going to be there. I mean, he's getting that value because he is a Yankee.
But he's a pretty spectacular player.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a really good outfielder, which I don't think a lot of people know. He's a great outfielder. He's got a really good arm.
He can move for his
gets
size.
home run. I mean, a lot of times teams will sign someone just for the fan effect because they'll sell a lot more tickets.
He's got speed for his size too.
Yes,
you wouldn't think a guy that's 280 pounds can move like that, but he's quick on the ball.
Yes, he is.
And especially now with the fact that they're looking at moving away from the shift, having, just as the value of the athletic infielder is going up,
right?
Your outfielders are still going to have to be on their heels.
Yeah, definitely.
And with banning, I'll ask you this real quick. Do you think that banning the shift is a good idea, or are you kind of the old school where it's like, no, let's get some directional hitting involved?
Well, I mean, I have some thoughts about that. I mean, I'm not a fan of the shift, obviously, because I watched David Ortiz for a season. He lost so many hits because of the shift. But my thinking is, all a player has to do is tap the ball to the opposite field and you're on base. And if you're not going to do that, they're going to shift on you. So, it's up to the player, really. And I don't blame teams for the shift if the player's not going to make an adjustment and just going to pull the ball like Joey Gallo.
Go ahead.
But if you just bunted a couple times, I mean, they would not shift on you. They would play regularly if you just laid down a couple bunts. Like if Rafael Devers laid out a couple bunts, it would open up a whole new area, whole new parts of the infield for him. They pull the ball to first or second, and that's an out. So I mean, I don't like the shift, but I really don't blame teams for using it if the hitter's going to be stupid enough to try and pull the ball. And for them, it's so easy just to go to the opposite way.
It really is. And yes, directional hitting takes a little time to learn. And I say that from experience. But there is supreme value in being able to do that and find those gaps, because that's also how you can turn an extra base hit on something if you know how to locate, and while you're not going to get exactly where you want to go. It's like, I want this at 225 feet into the outfield and it to stop dead so that the outfielder can't get it as quick. You can do that, but you can at least get a general direction. So I think that there is value in that. But yeah, I get the other side of it too. It's one of those things. And then we got to see, and the beating pitches. I know we'd kind of talked about that before. Do you think, how much more time do you think it's going to take for everybody to start getting dialed in for those walks and hit by pitches?
Probably another month. Because what spring training is about a month. So, and they had 3 weeks of spring training. So I'd say probably 3 more weeks or another month.
Well, and this is one of those reasons why catchers and pitchers have to report early with rookies, because they're trying to get those. And when I realized that they weren't going to get that time, I was instantly like, this is going to cause problems.
Yep.
Because they need that time to get ramped up, because otherwise, like Mad Bomb on opening night facing the Padres, his bullpen saved him because he wasn't ready. He wasn't locating. You could tell he didn't have the control that he needed. And I'm one with the substances. I can understand wanting to have control over the substances that they use, but I'm also one of those where I feel like rosin, sweat, and sunscreen can only go so far.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, rosin is very helpful if you use it right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. and I think that, back in the olden days, they could the catcher would have a little extra tar on the inside of his chest plate and just kind of tap it with the ball when he threw it back to give that pitcher a little extra help. But you get a lot of trouble you do that now.
Yeah,
because
if they catch you.
If they catch you, right? Because they have been. They've been checking catchers and
they check
infielders as
pitchers'
well.
hands now too, right? I mean, that's a new thing.
Yep.
They don't just check the equipment; they check their hands.
And I think that's what they did this year is they changed the inspection, because a lot of times what they do is they look at the glove and then they're looking at the hand to see if it looks like there's any sticky residue.
Right.
They can't see anything obvious. They don't dive into anything else unless they have reason to think so.
Right.
Because last year when they started, you had all these guys that were like this, trying to take off their jerseys. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, and watching guys try and take off their belts was pathetic.
Yes. it made for some great YouTube videos, though.
Yes,
I'll say
did.
that. And then we've seen some teams that, and the Yankees have started okay. Obviously, I know that I haven't seen if they finished a nice game yet, but they started the first two against Boston, and they were under a lot of heat for not really making very many splash moves in free agency.
They made, but they had, they got Rizzo and Gallo last year, so they didn't really need to do any. Plus, they got Hicks back, so I mean that's like a new pickup because he didn't play last year that much.
I think Donaldson at third was definitely an upgrade. I'm not sure he was worth $50 million, but I think that, he was a definite upgrade because he's got a much more accurate bat, and they need something other than power hitters. Get some guys on base, so that when those power hitters go yard, it's a 3-run shot instead of a 1-run shot.
Right. Although I do think they're going to miss Urshela. That guy could do everything.
He's really a 5-tool player. Like you could pretty much put him anywhere on the field and get production.
Right.
Especially, and him in your lineup, you put him down around the 7, 8, 9 because of the fact that he had kind of lost a step there. 240 with 30 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
But you can still get 30 home runs, which in Yankee Stadium or even the Rockies ballpark, you're still going to get some airtime out of those. So
I'm always amazed at how short the fences are, the new Yankee Stadium. You think they'd have built it a little differently. Because you hit a fly ball to the right, it's a home run.
They've been talking about that because there was on opening night, one of the home runs that was the home run that Stanton hit was only a home run in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I saw that.
The one he hit Saturday night, last night, was a home run in 4 stadiums.
Right.
So I was like, and why isn't there more uniformity on that as far as the distance for the outfield fences? That's my question.
Well, it's like Fenway. I think baseball just wants to have, little quirks. I mean, you're in Arizona. You saw that little hill they built, which is ridiculous. I mean, players were falling on their faces there.
Yeah.
But I think that baseball just wants, everything to be a little different, because there was a time in the 70s where you had all these cookie cutter stadiums. They all look the same, and if everything's 330 down the lines, then I don't know, it's just repetitive.
Okay, no, I hadn't thought of it like that. No, that's an interesting point. And especially because you have stadiums like the Rocky stadiums where if you get that up, it doesn't matter what direction, because of the higher altitude, that ball is going to fly.
Oh yeah, it was Houston that had the hill, right? Not Arizona. Right. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, you're fine. And there's, and all of these different stadiums have these quirks, and the Green Monster in Fenway, which I will see in person one day. I've never been to Fenway. It's going to happen at some point. I'm now to determine. I don't care if I have to hitchhike from Arizona to Boston to be able to afford the tickets. I'm going to figure something out. And
take a tour of Fenway. They have a great tour of Fenway. They take you underneath, inside. They take you behind the wall. You can see the post where everybody has autographed it over the years. It's great. Yeah, amazing.
I will do that one day.
Also, what I like is not just the Green Monster, but that ladder out there is, you get some crazy bounces, and the garage door down the left field line, you get some crazy bounces there.
there's that field in general has some quirks because it's especially with the way that because you're right there by you're right there closer to the coast. I know obviously not right by, but closer to the coast, and so the air moves different over there.
Right.
And you get those air pockets, and sometimes it'll lift up, and sometimes it'll knock stuff down.
Right.
So it's that, yeah. It's like you said, every little park has its quirks. It adds a different story.
Yeah, and it always depends what time of year too. I mean, the ball travels more during the summer for some reason, and so balls that would be out by 30 feet in the summer are just fly balls to right field now.
I don't know. I think in the spring and in the fall, the air is a little more dense and cold.
Yeah, I think
and
you're
I
right.
think
That's what I was thinking, right.
It slows stuff down to a degree. Because even like in the NFL, they have to worry about that when they get to the colder games. They try to do a lighter ball and keep their hands a little warmer so they can grip it. The whole deflate gate thing that Brady dealt with.
Yeah, you see quarterbacks now always with their hands in their pockets because they had a little hand warmer in there.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
And so we'll talk about some of this other stuff. I want to try and not trigger Tony La Russa while I talk about the fact that the Guardians managed to beat the Royals 17-3 today.
I saw that.
That's.
Hey, I haven't seen Francona. Is he managing them?
No, I don't think so.
Did he retire?
Yes, he did.
Oh.
And I can't remember who it is that's the manager now, but Tony is. Oh wait, are you talking about the Guardians?
Yeah.
You know what? I think yes, he is the manager of the Guardians. Yeah, that's right. Because I was thinking about Francona being gone from Boston. But yes, no, he is. Yeah, he's a skipper for the Guardians.
Yeah, he's a great guy. They say he's one of the funniest guys in baseball.
And when you look at it, if there's somebody that's just sitting next to Tony and they're just talking, 90% of the time they're laughing.
Right.
Kind of like if you're somebody sitting next to Verdugo in the dugout, they're just laughing.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. And I'm sure most of those guys are, even those older hats, I'm sure most of those guys are pretty cool to hang around. And
yeah,
it's except for Tony La Russa. I don't like that guy.
No. I don't think that was a good hire. I mean, what are they going to hire Casey Stengel next?
I don't understand. And here's the thing. I can understand La Russa in a consulting role because he does know a lot about the game. But when you're trying to advance the franchise and bring the game into a different light as a whole, having such an older mentality in La Russa just doesn't make sense to me.
And I think some of the younger players commented on that, that he didn't really relate to them.
And when you're a coach on any professional sports team, you're managing a bunch of egos.
Right.
That's part of your job. And
a lot of times you're more psychologist than anything else.
Because your assistant coaches are going to tell you, hey, this guy needs to be in the lineup. This guy needs to be out. That's their job because you're managing everything. And so it
gets really narrow. Like this guy had a big fight with his wife last night. This guy's hungover, so he can't play. This guy's wife filed for divorce, so he's down. He can't play. You got to know everything about these guys.
And if you can't build that relationship, you're not going to build that trust.
No.
And Dan and Dick Warner, he is with me on Sports Report, and he is also he's my co-host for After Dark, and he is a avid Yankees fan, so he was really excited to see you join us.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Hey, Dan.
He's like he's a big fan of Judge. So and Judge
I'm a big fan of Judge too.
Yeah, and Judge is such a unique athlete.
I'm not really against the Yankees. I'm more against the Yankee fans. I think they're real jackasses. I mean, they think it's their birthright to win a World Series.
The culture in New York is such that they expect October baseball. They expect postseason baseball. It's like last year when it was only a wild card, they lost in Boston. There was a lot of
that one game playoff, right?
Yeah, you've got this. You've got this there's a lot of people calling for Boone's head and Cashman's head.
Well, I think the last decade was the first decade that the Yankees did not make the playoffs in any of the years in that decade, 2000, 2010. I don't know. I might be wrong, but that.
Well, no, because they were in the World Series in 2001 against the Diamondbacks. Because
right,
this is a Luis Gonzalez jersey.
Right.
My wife's a big D-backs fan. I haven't been able to convert her from it. Well,
I'm a big Torey Lovullo fan. I'm a big ex-Red Sox fan, which is why I like Francona and Lovullo.
I like Lovullo, and I think he could do some good things in the organization.
Yeah.
But the Diamondbacks ownership is a problem.
Yeah. Why'd you get rid of Goldschmidt?
I don't know why I'm glad he's getting some hits and he's getting his money, and especially what he's doing in St. Louis. Again, that entire lineup is ridiculous, kind of like the Dodgers. The St. Louis lineup is just broken. But I love Goldie. He's such a good hitter.
Right.
And a great first baseman too. Like, honestly, Gold Glove first baseman. And I think it's good to see Pujols and Yachty getting this go out together.
Yeah, I agree.
And Yachty is so amazing behind the plate.
He was, yeah. You might compare him to Bench, I think.
I would Bench, absolutely. And I think that Yachty is, his two things are being able to pick those runners off, because his throwing ability is ridiculous.
And throwing from the knees, yeah, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's an underappreciated talent, to be able to get to second in one throw with no hops.
It's an underappreciated position, catching in general.
And he's so good at framing as well. There's been a lot of conversation about that being a lost art in catching, and that's something that he does beautifully.
Right.
And and the like framing is an important mechanic, because like you look at the Braves last year in the World Series, the framing of their catcher, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But him framing those pitches got them a lot of those on the edge and helped them in the count. And that's just such an underappreciated thing. Catchers they're the unofficial captain of the infield sometimes, because they have to be able to read that stuff.
Yeah. So plus the whole game's in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They see everything. They move players around. They tell an outfielder to move more left, because they know what pitch is coming. If a changeup is coming, they're going to move the guy to the left. If it's a fastball, they're going to move the guy to the right a little.
Yeah, it's and that the being able to just kind of change those positions subtly and react and block and keep that shut down. Right. There's so much to it, and the awareness you have to have, and not just, and being able to know and have that awareness with each pitcher.
Right. Yeah, because they're all different.
Because like you're not going to get the same thing out of Wainwright that you are at Upton. Or I'm sorry.
Plus, some guys you can get by like really riding them, but me, I was the opposite. If you really rode me, because I'm pretty sensitive. I would shut down. But some guys, they get pumped up with that. They want to prove you wrong.
It's kind of like in a coaching position, and you're kind of a coach and a catcher, because you've got to be able to relate to each one of those guys to their level.
Right.
Because like Zach Greinke pitching for the Royals, an amazing pitcher, and he's a different young man. And so Salvi's got to be able to walk out there and talk to him, and he's not talking about the fact that this guy's on a 3-0 count and they've got the bases loaded. He's out there going, "Hey, who you got in fantasy football this weekend? You want to make a trade? I'm kind of getting sick of Brady on my team. Can I get Mahomes from you? But knowing that if it was Brady Singer that's out there, he's walking out there. What the hell are you doing? Can you locate a pitch today, please? Like just one time. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
Was there any catchers you work with that really impressed you when you were coming up?
Yeah, but none of them made it in the big leagues. There are certainly some good catchers. In Double-A, which was my big year, I had, and I didn't really have a preference. I know a lot of guys have preferences, but I didn't care.
As long as they knew what they were doing.
Just put down a finger and I'll throw it to you and you catch it.
Oh, it makes sense. And back when we were talking about earlier with the Yankee series, they were in that World Series in 2001, and they won a title. The Yankees did win a title in 2009. That was the last time they won a title. So this 14 years is I think that's, or 13, 14 years. This has got to be the longest gap without a title in a long time.
Right. Which breaks my heart.
It's, I mean, and I kind of get that. Like that's one of those things. They've got like 27 rings as an organization, something like that.
Yeah, remember who was their manager that went to Philadelphia?
Showalter?
No, Showalter went to the Mets. He was right before Boone. He was a catcher too. And now anyway, yeah, he wanted the jersey 28 because he said we're going to win the 28th this year. And then they got rid of him.
And then they got rid of him.
Yeah.
And the Yankees are like, and I don't mean this to anybody that would take this as an insult. The Yankees are like the Dallas Cowboys of Major League Baseball.
Right.
That's it.
You either love them or hate them.
Well, you either love them or you hate them, and they are the most marketable organization in the sport. There's a reason why the Yankees have the ability to spend $250 million a year.
Yeah,
on payroll.
I mean, you go to Europe, you see a lot of people wearing Yankee hats.
And Boston's another one that's up there.
Yeah.
But the Yankee, I mean, they're the most marketable organization in the game. That's why they
definitely
have the budget that they do.
Definitely.
And so for the game to not have that and for them to have been without it for so long, it can kind of impact it.
That doesn't bother me. I'd rather have them out of the playoffs.
I mean, as a Red Sox fan, like the worse their season is, the happier I am as a person. Like it's directly correlates to how my holidays is going to go. But I have respect for the organization when they're not being stupid.
Right.
And I think that's a good baseball fan is you can have respect for your rivals, but still be like on game day, yeah, fuck the Yankees.
Oh, I definitely respect them. I mean, I'm watching a game, hitter after hitter. I'm looking at him saying, this guy's good. This guy can mash. Pretty amazing that they continue. And, that they got a guy like LeMahieu out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he's hitting 26 home runs and playing like 3 different positions.
He's another one. You can put LeMahieu almost anywhere.
Right.
And that versatility is great because sometimes, if it's a left-handed pitcher versus a right-handed pitcher, your who's on the field kind of shifts a little bit.
Right.
And having that versatility gives you value.
Well, that's the first thing Alex Cora looks at in a guy. He wants versatility. He wants to move guys around.
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking for guys that can play different positions. I think that's why they got Kike because, he was a second baseman with the Dodgers.
Right.
But now he's playing a great center field.
He is a great center fielder. And I think it's one of the reasons why Bloom opened up the checkbook on Trevor Story.
Right.
Because, Story's a second right now, but if they lose Bogey at the end of the season, you can put him right into short and you're set.
Right.
But if
that's kind of a good backup plan.
It's and Story's a good guy to have around the clubhouse. He's got a good mentality and a good attitude. So I think that helps, especially with the uncertainty with Bogey and Devers. They signed him to a good deal. So everybody knows he's not going anywhere. So he can kind of be that lightning rod with Dahlbeck.
6 years, right?
Yeah, 6 years. And they just signed Whitlock. They announced this morning. They just
I saw that. Yeah, that's great.
He was such a great pickup from the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah, I think eventually he's going to be a starter. You
think it'll happen this season?
I don't think it'll happen this year. But, did you see him yesterday against Stanton? He struck out Stanton. He blew a fastball by him. And then the next pitch, Stanton hits that one 450.
And that's the thing is, I was even the announcers, they were saying it yesterday because I was watching it through it because I have MLB TV, which is the only reason that I keep T-Mobile. But I was watching that game and, and looking at it. And then even on Twitter, everybody's like, if not for one pitch, Whitlock ends up with probably a four inning outing and you just have 2 pitchers for the whole game.
Yep.
And he's he's such a great young kid. I think he's gonna make some waves. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think
That's got to drive the Yankees nuts.
it's I would say almost as much as the Boston driving nuts the fact that they gave up Rizzo.
Right. And Bagwell.
And Bagwell, yeah.
Right.
That's giving up Rizzo, because like I didn't know that Rizzo came up in Boston's farm system until I think it was one of the broadcasts.
Well, it's really tough to know when you see a guy in rookie ball. It's tough to know, tough to project.
Right. Because you've got 150 guys down in your minor league systems. So it's every single one of them is at least decent.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's to the big leagues. Yeah, it's very hard, but I mean, there's a lot of luck involved. Like who are their pitchers now? Who's their third baseman now? Am I going to be able to play third? Am I going to be able? Because if you were a shortstop in the minor league system when Jeter was there, you knew you weren't able to run up the big league.
Yeah, you weren't going anywhere. Yeah, you're just kind of hoping to get traded.
Right. Well, and with the Yankees, a good chance of that.
It's in their farm system that they send guys out that end up starters in other places that they just wouldn't be interested in because talent level wise they have higher standards.
Right.
But then you also have sometimes that guy gets to that different organization, something clicks, and all of a sudden,
Yep.
And I think you see that with a lot of players because very seldom is it guys like Salvador Perez coming up in the Royals farm system. He's been with the Royals since he was 16 years old.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
and he hit 39 home runs last year?
Yeah, he had the most home runs he set the record for the most home runs by a catcher in a single season.
And he'd never even come close to that before, had he?
He's always been a decent power hitter, but I don't think he's ever put up that good of numbers because I know that was
20
his
maybe
best
or something.
Season. Yeah, right. He's like 20, 25 somewhere in there. I think is usually.
Yeah, that just came out of nowhere.
But he's one of the best catchers of the game in the game right now. So it's now. How do you feel about I was going to ask you about this about the universal DH and pitchers not having to hit anymore.
Oh, I love it. I mean, some guys don't like the DH, but I saw a stat that said National League pitchers last year hit 105. I mean, who wants to go to a game and just watch an automatic out?
I saw a number that most National League pitchers expect to have an extra 25 strikeouts a year because of the fact that they're going to be facing pitchers in one of the slots.
Right.
You can still have guys like Shohei, who is an amazing athlete, but a freak of nature.
Yes.
Of the freak of natures, which are professional athletes, and get the and let them hit because technically the DH rule doesn't have to be for a pitcher.
Right.
They just have one DH.
That's right.
And
although I'd hate to be the position player that you have a DH for.
Yeah, but honestly, like there's a couple of them out there that are like, you are really good fielding, but I do not want you at the plate.
You're in a slump. No.
Yeah. You've hit 105 over the last 6 months. We're going into September. You're going to take some time in just field.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I was in Nashville. Hoyt Wilhelm was my pitching coach, and he's a great guy. But I had a game where I was struggling a little. He came out and said, we're going to take you out. I said, but Hoyt, I got this guy out last time. He goes, yeah, but that was this inning.
Oh, that's a plot twist. That is a plot twist.
He was a funny guy.
And when you have those moments on the mound, is it always just one of those things where it's like either you're out or, hey, get your head out of your ass? Or what are some of those experiences like? What were they like for you?
I wasn't real argumentative. I'm usually, I knew when I was tiring. And if the guy came to get me, that's his job. I had no problem with it. Some guys are adamant about not coming out and they'll argue with the manager right there on the field. But yeah, I don't want to hurt the team by pitching if I'm, have already thrown 120 pitches, which is what I did in AA. I threw 140 pitches a game for 30 starts. Yeah. I mean, there's some games I threw 150 pitches because they had no pitch count back then. And I think that might be something that led to my injury. I mean, I must have thrown a couple thousand.
I could. That's a justifiable assumption.
Mm-hmm.
That's abuse of a player.
Oh my God. I mean, like, now, here's the thing. I want, don't break up a no-hitter. Like when they took on Thursday night, when I saw that they took you out after the sixth and you haven't given up a hit, I was like, come on, guys. But then it was like, oh, he's thrown 92 pitches. Okay.
And it's early in the season. Right.
Yeah, this early in the season, you don't want to burn Yu Darvish out against the Diamondbacks on opening day. Like, let's we need him in September. And was there any teams that the moves that they made this offseason that stood out to you where that's like, hey, these guys could be contenders and they're not getting credit for it?
Well, I think they are getting. I think the Mets made some great moves. I think getting Showalter was a great move. Showalter was my first baseman in Double-A. He's a
really,
yeah. You know what bugs me about him? Because I saw him as a manager in Baltimore. I mean, he always had a look on his face like he had indigestion, and he was one of the funniest guys I've ever met. Lighten up, Buck.
I have a lot of respect for Showalter because, like, he was the skipper of the D-backs before they went to the World Series. Like, he left that next season, they went to the World Series. I think it was.
Well, that was with the Yankees. I mean, that was with the Yankees too.
Yeah,
that's why I've said hire Showalter if you want to go to the Yankees the year after you get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
So put your money on the Mets this year.
Absolutely.
Plus, I mean, they got Scherzer. They got
Stroman.
Stroman.
No, Stroman's in Chicago.
Right.
Sorry.
Mets have DeGrom coming back.
DeGrom,
and
Scherzer.
They have this guy Zach Wheeler who's done really well.
And McGill's not bad.
No.
He was the one that got the ball opening day for them since Scherzer and DeGrom is out. And he looks like a decent pitcher. I like him.
Yeah.
And man, the team that actually surprised me though is I think the Twins could grab a wild card.
Yep. Yeah, they made some good moves. I mean, last year was so disappointing because they had such a good year 2 years ago, and last year they just went in the tank. But yeah, I like Rocco Baldelli.
And they're an organization where, and I always feel bad for some of those small market teams that still have names like the Twins, because they should be more prevalent in baseball and getting a more consistent win record and not at the bottom of the league in a farm system, basically.
Well, also, I mean, that's why I think it's important. They have a salary cap. I also think they should have a salary bottom. Like, you have to spend at least, 140 million or 240 million on your payroll. Because a lot of owners, they see there's a cap, they take that extra money and they just use it, buy Mercedes or something.
I've said a few times, a salary floor of at least 75 million should be a no-brainer, because you've got 5 organizations that have under $50 million in payroll this year.
Right.
Like Carlos Correa's contract this year, he will make more than the A's or the Orioles in payroll as for the whole team.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. And like Craig was talking, was it last or 2 weeks ago, the A's severed some of the benefits for their season ticket holders, took away their prime parking, raised all of the prices.
Yeah, I don't think people there are too pleased with their owner. Plus, well, I don't want to get into politics, but yeah, I think their owner has not done a good job for them, because they have very good fans. The ones that not a lot go, but the ones that go are very passionate.
And you can build that back up, because anytime, like the Royals are a prime example. I spent so much time living in Kansas City, so I absorbed a lot of knowledge about that organization just by location.
Right.
But the Royals have a small dedicated fan base, but once they start winning, Kansas City fans show up in droves. And so, like, especially right now with the hype around that kid that they just started, Bobby Witt Jr., that was the number 1 prospect going into the season, and he's a remarkable young man. But you start to see those other people that are going to spend money come back. And
there's also this pitcher. I think his name is Tyler Hunter or something.
Yeah.
I think he started today. It was a start. They said he throws over 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
I forget who he's with, but
I'm
pretty
trying to think. Yeah, it's these guys. I mean, because like they were talking about it on the ESPN broadcast for tonight. You had, back in the 80s and 90s, like if you were throwing 90 to 95, you were an ace.
boy, that's
And
what Dennis Eckersley said the other day. He goes, 95 is the new 90. It's what 90 used to be. I mean,
It was
if you hit 90 back then, you were throwing it. And the radar guns, they're different this year because back then the radar guns used to track the ball when it got close to the catcher, but the radar guns now track it right out of the pitcher's hand, which obviously is a lot faster. So I think, pitchers back then can add 5 miles an hour to their fastball because of the new guns.
Okay.
Well, I did anyway.
You know what? I'm not even going to give you. You know what? You get that one. I can't take that away from you. There is, it's so much, and that's why I still support looking at the options for control, because the grip and control on getting a 95 mile an hour two-seamer and the movement that you need on that two-seamer, if you have the right grip, you're going to be fine. But if you don't have the right grip, you're going to take out somebody's knees.
Right. Something interesting, which I think about all the time, my entire professional career, I never once threw a four-seam fastball. I don't know why no one recommended it, because I was a hard thrower, and I would have been even a harder thrower. But, I threw that two-seamer because I got a lot of movement on it. But I didn't throw one four-seam fastball in my life.
What pitches? So you had the two-seamer. What other pitches did you throw?
I had a really good changeup. I developed a really good changeup. And I was one of the first guys. I had a forkball, which really dropped, but it was kind of tough to control. But yeah, it was a good strikeout pitch. When I had 2 strikes on someone, if I threw that forkball, it looked silly swinging at it. But the best pitch in baseball, I think, is a changeup.
If it's thrown right, it is so effective.
Yeah, and you see so many guys throwing it now. It's amazing.
Because a lot of it when it comes out, it almost looks like a four-seam.
Yeah,
well, there's not a lot of movement on it.
It should be, yeah.
And the release looks the same, because a lot of the difference in that is just the power that the pitcher puts behind it, and they release it a little differently. It's subtle changes.
Yeah. And
so it's harder to telegraph and see that it's only that. And then so if you're not on your timing and waiting on it, you're going to get torch by it every time and swing early.
Right. Get a lot of pop-ups on those. Guys on their front leg, lunging at the ball.
And a lot of infield flies.
A lot of infield flies. Forkballs. I lost my train of thought.
All right.
Changeups too. They're really good in hitters counts because they're always looking for a fastball. So if I was 3-1 on a hitter, I threw him a changeup. They just let it go. Plus, the thing about a changeup is you can throw a bad changeup and it's still a good pitch because the guy's out in front, even if it's up even his belt high. You can't do anything with it when he's on his front foot.
Right. And especially when you're expecting something that, when you're expecting that heater and it's an off-speed pitch, it messes with your timing.
Oh, definitely.
Was there because I did see even in the majors, you had a couple of strikeouts. Who did you strike out and do you remember anything about it?
Well, my first strikeout was Ben Ogilvy. I don't know I think my second strike, I had like 3 strikeouts. I think this, one of their utility guys, Jim something. I don't know.
Okay. No, I was just curious because
that was pretty. I saw a guy the other day. He got his first big league strikeout, and he wanted to keep the ball. He threw the ball. I'd never seen that. Eckersley was like, "What is he doing?"
Why not? Yeah, it's a memory.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is it's such a remarkable thing to make it to that level. I would probably be one of those if I had gotten there. Like, oh, is this the first ball from a strikeout that I caught? Yeah, save that. Oh, this is the first foul tip that hit me in the nuts. We're gonna save that. I'm gonna. I'm a borderline hoarder though, so I guess that maybe that's just me.
Well, the one ball I didn't keep is the one Gorman Thomas hit 380 feet.
Because it was the one home run that you gave up, right?
Yep, he set me up perfectly because he knew I was a rookie. I threw him a fastball. He looked really bad swinging. I said, "Well, I'm going to throw that again." So I threw it again.
Oh,
Jesus. Yeah, he set me up good.
And was that in the Twins Stadium or the Brewers Stadium? I'm sorry, or was that in Old Yankee Stadium?
No, it was in Milwaukee.
Okay. All right. All right. So we're getting to the point where we can wrap up whenever. What did you have any other stories you wanted to share with us this evening?
Well, I think one of my fondest memories is when I actually got into the clubhouse. I was a rookie, so I was expecting to go into some corner, my locker to be in some corner, number 84 or something. They walked me to the middle of the clubhouse. They showed me my locker. It had a sign, Wever, already there. I looked to the right, it said Gossage. I looked to the left, it said Winfield, and my number was 25. So,
oh wow,
yeah, I could have ended my career right there. I would have been happy.
So you didn't get to pick your number when you came up. It was this is your number,
right?
Interesting. Yeah. I know some of those guys get lucky and you're able to pick that, but I wasn't sure if that was everybody or if that was.
Plus, some guys pay guys for a number. Like if you're traded to another team, if a big name is traded to another team, you pay a guy that has your number for his uni.
I've seen that done. Like, and it's pretty universal across all sports too. Is they'll do that. Is be like, hey, here's 80 grand or here's 50 grand to your charity or whatever. I want your number. That's an interesting thing. And was 25? Did you have the number in the minors as well, or was that just for came up?
25. I got Tommy John's locker because he had been playing with the Yankees, and he was the guy I replaced, and he was number 25. So I just got his number.
So wait, you replaced Tommy John?
I think so.
Yep.
Wow, that's an interesting fact.
Yeah, so I got his number.
Did you ever have to have his surgery?
No, I a different surgery.
You had a different because yours was on your shoulder, right? And Tommy John's is in the elbow, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to show one other thing tonight that I happened to find. And I'm pretty sure Craig may have sent these to you or was going to. But I found pictures of a couple of trading cards that you had. This first one, This is your Yankees card, a signed rookie card.
Yeah, I like that.
And then this other one that I thought was really cool was from when you were in the Nashville Sounds.
Right. They have a great logo, a cowboy with a cowboy hat with a banjo swinging her bass.
And in Nashville, that was the team that you were with for a couple of years, right?
Okay, I'm back.
You good? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. And how long were you with Nashville? Can you hear us?
Okay, I can't hear you.
Can you hear us?
How about now, Stefan?
Stefan, can you hear us? Oh, hold on. See if we can unmute that.
We can see you, Stefan.
We can see you, Stefan. You're muted, though. Can you hear us? Okay, Stefan seems to be having some issues. We'll give him a second.
There, now can you hear me?
Oh, we hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear us? Stefan, can you hear us?
Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Can you hear us?
I'm going to go.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good
Talk to
night.
you later.
Thank you for joining us.
See you, Stefan.
Okay, so that was an absolutely amazing experience.
He's as real as they come.
And I apologize if I talk too much, man. I just
No,
I had questions.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I became a listener tonight. I enjoyed it.
Well, I promise it was not my intention to hijack everything.
No, it
Did
was
you have
fine.
any thoughts on how things have gone opening weekend?
I'm really surprised by all the bean balls. I really am. I was not expecting those. Clearly the control, pitchers are lacking the control. And like Stefan said, it's going to be another month. You asked a really good question about that as far as when you think it's going to be when they'll have the control. And I agree, it's going to be at least a month for
Because
them to get the control in.
Because that time that they get before everybody gets there for spring training, it's what, an extra week and a half, 2 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's,
And
yeah,
especially if they've got young catchers, like say for the Giants, for example, with Joey Bart. I mean, he's that lockout really hurt him and the pitchers because they didn't get a chance to get together and work out regularly to establish, as you said, that rapport, that relationship that's so important for each of the pitchers.
It's and I think that they're seeing, because and we've talked about in some of our earlier episodes how the owners aren't the biggest fans of dealing with spring training because it's just an expense for them.
Yeah.
So from a business
it's a
standpoint,
lost cow for them. Yeah.
But at the same time, we're seeing now why it's so important, because it's not like with the NFL preseason where it's not as impactful. Pitchers need that ramp up time.
Yep.
And, these guys need, these hitters need that time to get in the batting cages and just put work in to get their swing back in. Cause like we're looking at Boston right now. Like I think they're actually, last I knew, they're up 4-3 in the bottom of the ninth, or in the top of the ninth right now. But you've got Boston, their bats really, like their pitching has actually been decent, especially when you look at, they almost had yesterday, Garrett Whitlock, 4 innings in his first appearance in the new season. They got 6 from Pavetta yesterday. So their pitching hasn't been horrible. The location's been off, and we've seen some beanballs and a lot of walks and stuff like that. But their bats have not been what they should. And that's
which surprises me, because, I mean, a good hitter can roll out of bed and at least get 1 base hit out of 4 at bats. I mean, the hitters are always ahead of the pitchers in spring training. Always been that way. And I'm like you. I'm surprised that the hitters have not had the advantage right now much. I mean, the pitchers seem to be, even though they're on a short pitch count, short leash, they seem to be doing quite well.
And not all of them have been having that issue, because like yesterday we saw Pete Alonso hit a grand slam. Our first grand slam of the year was yesterday. And this goes back to the Mets. Despite the fact that the Mets are dealing with a lot of issues of getting hit by pitches from the Nationals, it was a problem. There was 5 in 2 days, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 4 I know for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, either 4 or 5. Yeah, you may be right. But that many, we still saw Pete Alonso send a bomb of a grand slam yesterday. Guardians won 17-3 today against the Royals. The Royals actually won their first 2 games. So to come back all of a sudden and lose 17-3, that's a pretty big blow.
Yep.
The Cardinals lost to the Pirates. The Dodgers lost to the Rockies again.
That surprises the heck out of me.
With the lineup that you've got offensively, and the Dodgers have,
it's Murderer's Row.
It is. It's Murderer's Row 2.0. And the pitching, and they have a decent pitching staff.
Yeah.
So it shocks me, but you never know. The Rockies could have just been like, look, we just needed to make some changes and move off of Story and whatever else.
As a Giants fan, it warms my cold black heart that they're losing. I'm very happy that the Dodgers are losing. I mean, they can lose every single game. I'd be very happy.
No, I get that, but we said, what was it, 2 weeks ago, the Dodgers, for the lineup that they've built, they need 105 wins this year to justify everything that they've done, and the fact that they're spending, like the Mets, like the Mets, the Yankees, and I believe Boston's up there as well, north of $200 million on your payroll.
Yeah, and the Giants, if the Giants can be fine, if they win only 95 games this year, they're going to be fine. They're going to be just
Yeah.
fine.
Oh,
They'll
yeah.
get that second spot.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I think their pitching's. I think the Giants' pitching overall right now is better than any other pitchers in the National League in the West for sure, including the Dodgers right now.
I would say the Cubs are up there because they have looked on the mound. They have looked really good.
Right. I'm talking just for the West.
For the West. Oh yeah, for the West,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, they have the best looking pitching right now. And I'd like to see it continue.
Yeah.
I want my boy Mookie Betts to find success. That's the only reason I care about anything with the Dodgers. I still hate the Boston let him go. I think because could you imagine with the lineup that they've got right now? But you swap out somebody, so you still got Kike out there, and JD Martinez sometimes when he feels like getting his big butt off the bench, to do something other than hit, and you put Kike in center, and then you got Mookie in right. That's especially with the lineup they've got: Bobby Dahlbeck, Trevor Story, Xander Bogaerts, Rafi Devers. Put Verdugo over in left. He'd be happy over there. He wouldn't care. Like that's another Dodgers-esque lineup in baseball at that point. Once everybody gets going. Really. And I really hope that Boston does not lose Devers or Bogaerts at the end of the season, because right now it looks like they might lose both of them, and I really don't want that to happen. Like,
are you still there?
Did I get?
I've lost audio.
I can still hear you just fine, buddy. I think it might be me.
I've lost audio.
No, I hope it's not me.
It sounds like you're underwater, my friend.
Okay.
Oh man.
Let's. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up for the night. Thank you, Stefan, for joining us. Hopefully, everybody can understand me. And thank you for checking out the winter meetings. We'll be back next week, and we will have our own YouTube channel next week. I will be posting links on Facebook this week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a good night.